The Ukrainian military has launched a long-anticipated counteroffensive against occupying Russian troops, opening a key phase in the war aimed at restoring Ukraine's territorial sovereignty and securing Western support in its fight against Russia. Ukraine has reported additional progress in its counteroffensive in what it described as very heavy fighting. In a post on the messaging app Telegram, Deputy Defense Minister Hanna Maliar said Ukraine's actions were partially successful. In the last day, Ukrainian forces had advanced 200 to 500 meters in various areas near the mostly destroyed city of Bakhmut in the east, and 300 to 350 meters towards the city southeast of Zaporizhzhia, he said. Although tougher battles lay ahead, and the land recaptured in just a week was a fraction of the Russian-held territory in Ukraine, the advance was Kyiv's biggest in months. In one night, a Defense Force unit destroyed 7 Russian invader tanks. These were 2 complete tank platoons. The fighters of the White Wolves detachment of the Special Operations Center A of the Security Service of Ukraine were distinguished by such success. In addition, our defenders eliminated about a dozen intruders, destroying 2 120mm D-20 howitzers, a 100mm MT-12 Rapira anti-tank gun, an anti-tank missile system, and 3 attack cars. The press service of the Security Service of Ukraine announced this on its page on the social network Facebook, publishing the relevant video edited from the episode shot by an unmanned aerial vehicle. Their operators found enemy targets and accurately dropped anti-tank cumulative grenades on them. Ukraine's Deputy Defense Minister Hanna Maliar said the country's forces were engaged in offensive and defensive actions in various areas, with Russian forces maintaining large numbers in the east and bringing in reserves from elsewhere. Near Bakhmut, he said, Ukrainian troops pushed their advance around villages to the north and northwest of the town, and the advance has been made. Maliar also recorded advances of nearly 1 kilometer by Ukrainian forces in 2 other areas further south, near the port cities of Berdyansk and Mariupol on the Sea of Azov. He said Ukrainian forces faced strong resistance, including intensified Russian missile and air attacks, as well as artillery and mortar attacks. Missile and artillery units of the Ukrainian Armed Forces towards Kherson eliminated 19 Russian invaders. Also destroyed was a tank, 3 152mm guns, Hyacinth-B, Msta-B and D-20, 3 vehicles and armored vehicles, the Murom-P video thermal surveillance complex, and an invaders field supply point near Oleshok. This was reported by the press service of the Southern Operations Command in a morning report on its Facebook page. He also indicated that our aircraft carried out 2 strikes on the enemy's manpower and weapons in the Kakhovsky district. But absent in the reports about night events in Nova Kakhovka, intense multi-caliber shelling and rumors of Ukrainian landings. The Washington, D.C.-based think tank, the Institute for the Study of War, ISW, said Friday that the current operation by Ukrainian forces was setting the conditions for a broader Ukrainian counteroffensive objective that was not immediately clear. The current battle is therefore an initial phase of the ongoing counteroffensive, ISW said. In the last week, the Ukrainians have attacked on the west bank of the Zaporizhzhia sector, where the front line meets the Dnipro River at one point, again south of Orikhiv 18 miles to the east, and most significantly, on both sides of the Russian salient on the border between the Zaporizhzhia and Donetsk oblasts. The advance totaled nearly 4 miles in a week, a much greater pace than the Russian troops had during their winter offensive, but it was only at one point. Nearby, about 8 miles to the west, the Ukrainians said they had captured another village, Novodorivka, and that Ukrainian troops might threaten Russian troops stationed in between. Meanwhile, Russian President Vladimir Putin insisted this week that Russian troops inflicted 10 times more casualties in Ukraine than they took on, and that the Ukrainian offensive had failed. as Russia launched more artillery, mortars and airstrikes in a bid to slow Ukraine's counterattack. Ukrainian defense officials on Thursday reported slow progress along several lines of attack in the country's southeast. The General Staff of the Ukrainian Armed Forces reported on June 16 that Russia had lost 218,500 soldiers in Ukraine since the start of the full-scale invasion on February 24 last year. This number includes the 590 casualties suffered by Russian forces over the past few days. The Ukrainian military is reported to have conducted successful offensive operations to the north and northwest of Bakhmut, as well as in western Zaporizhia Oblast and in western Donetsk Oblast. The Institute for the Study of War quoted Mykhailo Podolyak, an advisor to the Office of the President of Ukraine, as saying that Ukrainian troops most likely had not yet started their main counteroffensive. SW determined that Ukraine's ongoing offensive operation would likely set the conditions for a broader objective, and that a counteroffensive was still in its early stages. Russian military bloggers continue to claim Russian defense successes against Ukrainian counter-operations in southern Ukraine. SW said that the initial Ukrainian offensive and Russian defense operations could not accurately predict the outcome of a counteroffensive. ISW has previously assessed that Russia's electronic warfare (EW) capabilities were critical in complicating Ukraine's attack on Zaporizhia, although it is unclear whether Russia's continued successful EW tactics are the result of superior capacity or Russia's increased use of these systems. Vladimir Putin said on Friday there was a serious danger that the NATO military alliance could be drawn further into the Ukraine war. The Russian president also said that nuclear weapons may only be used if there is a threat to the very existence of the Russian state, adding, "We have more such weapons than Western countries." Speaking at Russia's flagship St. Petersburg International Economic Forum, he said the Russian military could demolish parts of central Kyiv but chose not to for various reasons, which he did not specify.